Well, hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I've been stacking some of this straw which came in off a neighbouring farm the other day. We were storing it in here for winter, but I ran out of space. So we've got some more straw across the road and I just made a bit more room in what we call the bullpens. And at the moment I've got the front loader on the John Deere, which has been quite handy for moving the odd bale. I've got a single bale spike at the moment, but I do need one of those frames, which is supposed to be coming quite soon from Cherry Products, who do a Euro to Manitou adapter, so that we will get one of those now by the end of the year, which will be awesome. We can put these bales in here, just sweep it out a little bit, because we were mucking this out the other day and there's just a bit of muck left in here which is sort of sweeping out. Just had the Manitou down here by the hose pipe this morning, because since we've been doing straw and stuff this year, silage, the windshield gets filthy and you can't see anything outside of it, but it's a lot cleaner now, as you can see. We've still got these worn blemishes on the windshield from a little while ago in the winter when there was some, I don't know, there's just a common fault with them apparently. On some of the earlier Manitous they used to do that. So yeah, we'll either wait to get the new Manitou or we'll do something with this one, but it'll be alright for now. We put the stock box back on the trailer, had the bale sections on that the other day, so we carted all of those bales. Over here I left this is sort of the last of the straw I left here the other day, which we couldn't store all in the yard and it was going to rain, so I just put it over here for now, and this is what we'll just take into the shed, into that middle bullpen to keep it dry, and then we'll use it over the winter months. So I could use obviously the twin spike, but the side squeeze is so handy when you're trying to put bales on their side and store them in a shed. So I hope, looking at the yard as well, it's a little bit tidier than what it was like last time. We are trying to keep everywhere fairly tidy if we can. There's a little bit of fodder beat there to clear up from last year. That's my little event shelter, which works out quite well in the hot weather to to have something to eat and a place to sit at lunchtime. So we'll just come across. You have to be really careful on this road, because there's some people who come up it at just silly speeds through the farm recently, especially over this summer, and when there's horse riders and just, you know, people walking around the farm, it is really dangerous. I wish people would slow down and just have a bit more respect for, you know, I do believe in karma, and you know, if you drive everywhere like a mad person, you'll probably have an accident at some point, and that does happen a lot, as we see these days. So yeah, we did ask the council years ago about a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit. I'll just put that light on, and yeah, there's just there's no hope in hell, so they're not worried. They don't care. So okay, I hope everyone's having a good harvest so far. I hope there's some good yields. From what I've heard, straw is not too bad this year, but I think the biggest problem this year has been hay and silage, because all the grass is now just burnt off. It's very difficult to get a second cut pretty much of more or less anything, unless you've got some sort of irrigation facilities to try and grow a decent yield of something. Maize as well, that's looking like it's been drought stricken at the moment. I think next year, towards the end of this year, is going to be very, very challenging for a lot of livestock farmers, and also arable farmers as well, looking at the price rises. Towards the end of this year, dealerships are putting their prices up on new tractors. You're looking at 3 or 4 year waiting time on some equipment, and on top of that we've then got fuel rising at the end of this year, and also fertiliser going up again. So it's going to make it very, very difficult for farmers to try and earn a living, I think, going ahead. Certainly in this country at the moment, in the UK, and I think any business which requires huge input, like very intensive farming businesses which have got high inputs, are going to be, you know, it's going to be some challenging times. You want to be running a low input, cost-effective business where your inputs are pretty low for things like labour and fuel and you know, seed costs and things like that. You need to cut out the costs really if you can. I think that's going to be the only way at the moment going ahead. And I think as for farm payments, I mean, years ago we used to get farm subsidies being in the European Union. Now of course we won't get that anymore. We're going to be moving away from the BPS payments. So that means we'll head towards the ELM schemes, which is all to do with rewilding and saving the planet, of course, by not growing anything and trying to leave land in fallow. which I think is going to be a good thing for farmers to make money from it. They'll get an income, but it's not really solving the problem of food production. You know, we need to be producing food, not leaving fields fallow and doing rewilding schemes. That's not going to be the future, especially when there's things like food shortages. You know, people haven't got enough money to go out and buy food. You know, the everyday consumer out there needs their food to be relatively affordable, and they also want it to be plentiful as well at the same time. So it's going to be a fine line. I think farming is going to get a lot harder though, touch wood, in the UK, and that's just the long and short of it. So again, some other news. Recently I've been looking at going to France again later on this year. I went earlier on mainly for a holiday, but later on this year, towards September time, I'm going to be going down there to rural France in the south near Bordeaux, to look at some farming down there, to look at some livestock farming, maybe a bit of arable farming, and I might even stay on a farm whilst I'm down there. So I'm just speaking to some friends we know, and some people who have lived there for many years farming in that part of the world. And yeah, I've got to say I'm looking forward to spending some more time in that part of the world and just learning a little bit more about French farming, because I think, as I said earlier, I think that's probably a good place to look at in the future if you wanted to keep farming, that is. The French have a lot of strong values on farming. They seem to really support farmers, and I'm not just talking about the general public over there, I'm talking about the government as well. Anything which goes wrong with farming, the farmers will just protest over there, and generally they get their point across. Most people actually in France, rural France, they'll generally have some sort of involvement with farming, whether that be their uncle has a farm, or whether their brother or sister works on a farm, or even the firemen and the police officers in France. They'll probably have some involvement with farming, and that's why a lot of the protests in France always seem to go ahead really well, and there's never too many problems. So there's a strong rural community out there, and I want to explore it a little bit further, and I want to learn about it more. There's also, of course, the language barrier. Learning French is quite a task, and if you spend more time out there, you'll probably pick up French. I've been learning little bits over the years, and school was really good for that. And I can get by now with French, but I'm going to try and learn even more as I get a little bit older. And I'd love to spend more time over there if I could. And they've got some huge farms up towards Paris, absolutely massive fields, like 750,000 acre fields, the wheat fields with flat soil, really high quality soil. And then in the south, if you go further south, it's more, you've got obviously the southwest vineyards. If you go to the southeast, or the Massif Central, that's predominantly a livestock area, because it's more of a mountainous region. Clermont-Ferrand and all those sorts of places, absolutely stunning scenery, and I just think a real opportunity to go and see some great European farming, and at least the farmers out there are still being paid on EU subsidies. Their incomes are going up with inflation. They've been given a fertiliser allowance, which is I think is absolutely amazing when you compare to what this government's done, or the UK has done, which isn't really a lot to help UK farmers, I don't think. So what's not to like? What's not to get excited about? So I hope you look forward to our farming adventure towards sort of the end of this year. Yeah, looking at farms in France. We've started harvest today, so you can see there's our first load. See what it's like. First load of barley just come in, so it's looking fit. Push this up in a minute. Right, well, I wasn't expecting that today. I did check the barley the other day and it was still a bit green, but it's about 15 days earlier than we'd normally harvest the barley, but Jeffrey's turned up the combine and now we're pushing up a little bit of barley this afternoon. So yeah, 11th of August last year we started combining barley, so this year it's the 25th. plays at just over £300 a tonne, depending on the contract. And of course, fertiliser is going up a lot, so it's going to be interesting to see whether we make a good profit out of this barley this year or not. I think this year will probably be alright, but next year is when things are going to get quite challenging. I'd like to get it put into the corners the first few loads, and then we can go from there. Finished putting these bales in here now, so we'll use some of these straw bales. I know now what I'm doing for the rest of the day, which will be we'll be pushing up the rest of that barley for today, waiting for the loads to come in, and then in tomorrow's video I'll show you the combine working on the few fields over on that side, and then it'll gradually work its way around the farm, the Lexion. So there's I think there's about 70 or 80 acres of spring barley this year, so not a huge amount, but a nice amount for our farm, and we get our straw off it as well to look after our cattle over the winter, and we also sell the barley for malting barley if it makes the grade. So we try and make a little bit of an income out of it if we can, and we used to save some of the barley for feed, but of course it's too expensive to do that now. So with that, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Stay positive, keep liking, subscribing, and all of that good stuff, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video when we'll show you the combine. Click here to subscribe to the channel, and click here to watch another Olly's Farm video.